Greetings from Policy Advocacy Research Center. Welcome everyone. I am Ruchita Rani, the Network Development and Strategic Alliance Head at PARC. And I welcome you all to PARC with Visionaries. Today I have with us a biochemical visionary in Dr. Nagraj Hegde. So, Dr. Nagraj Hegde, welcome to PARC with Visionaries. It is indeed a pleasure to have you here. And for our lovely audience, let me take this opportunity to introduce to you Dr. Nagraj Hegde. Dr. Nagraj Hegde, like I said, is a biochemical visionary. I'm sure you're wondering what that is. Dr. Hegde has an agricultural background. He comes from a family of agriculturists. Apart from that, he himself has done his studies in the field of agriculture and his higher studies in terms of management, also to do with genetics and plant breeding. So I welcome you, Dr. Hegde, and I'm extremely happy to also tell our audience that Dr. Hegde is the founder, chairman, and the managing director of High Tech Agriculum. Well, I'm sure that word sounds like inoculum. Well, definitely it is, because Dr. Hegde, as you will see as we move on and listen to him, is well known in this field as a plant doctor. So, while I welcome him, I also request Dr. Hegde to tell us what is it that inspired him to bring together high tech into agriculture. Over to you, Dr. Hegde.
Namaskar, Ruchita ji, and it's my privilege to be part of your esteemed program. And as you've been mentioning that agriculture and technology was brought in together in through our organization, which is driven by the fashion of a safe and functional agriculture. Since beginning, as you mentioned, since I come from an agriculture family, agriculture is a part of our living. So, but always I've been thinking that the food is deteriorating very fast with the days. So food should remain as a food, not a toy. So on that ground, this particular company has started, and it is the first time in the world that I coined a word called safe and functional agriculture. The reason behind is that, see, any regulation anywhere in the world, any certification, the fundamental idea is to make sure that the people eat the right food, the safe food. So instead of calling it in some other name, I thought let me call it in a very simple, understandable, straight words like safe and functional. What is safe? That it does not contain what it is not supposed to contain. What is functional? It contains what it's supposed to contain. So in that way, I have made it as very simple, safe and functional agriculture. So in the year 2000, I started organizing this company, and now we have some 82 brands which we sell in many countries. Apart from that, the idea is that we should make the food more and more safe and functional. To come to that particular level of availability to everybody in this world, I found out there is a one hitch, that's in soil.
Right. So when you are saying that you want to make sure that there is food which is safe and functional, we have to go to the very roots of it. And today we see that there is so much of toxicity when it comes to the kind of chemicals that we are using. And for some reason or another, it is kind of inevitable. But just as for the body, the health of the cell is most important. So when it comes to the plant, apart from the root and its basic things, soil must play the most important role. So when we are talking of soil, you have done much work on analyzing the health of soil. You give something like a soil card. So what is it exactly that you do when it comes to testing the soil health? And if the soil health is not good, then in what way do you recommend, and what are the actual ways in which that soil health can be improved? It will be nice for our listeners to know more about this aspect. So over to you.
Okay, see, in this journey of understanding the soil testing, a lot of people have done a lot of research. But in the present scenario, what is the problem is that the soil has to be collected and has to be brought to the laboratory. And that itself was a problem because the farmer is not able to collect it properly, and then he does not have enough time to wait for the results. So let's say typically any laboratory will take 3 days. So by that time, the need for the correction in the field must have already gone, or some more damage also already has done. So instead, I was always been thinking that today is a smart era. Today is an instant era. We need instant solution for many problems, and it should be user friendly again. You cannot ask the farmer to take the soil to the lab. Instead, I always been thinking, why not take the lab to the farmer?
Okay.
So that's how we shrink this lab to a small, like a one like handbag. With that handbag, you can actually carry the laboratory and take it to the field. You can analyze each parameter of the soil in just 30 seconds. One parameter, 30 seconds. So that product, what we call it as Bhumitra. Okay. So this Bhumitra is a part of our Bhusri.
Right. So when we say that normally when we are looking at the soil, the other aspect of soil or what goes with the soil is generally manure. And I'm sure all of us know that to get any kind of decomposition into manure, it takes normally about 40 to 60 days. But Dr. Nagaraj Hegde has come up with a solution for this, where he has very instant manure preparation. So let's hear it from him, how he gets this manure prepared very quickly.
Okay, again, now taking the philosophy of user friendliness and giving the solution right where the problem is there. So let us again try to understand. See, we have been doing this agriculture since last 20 to 25,000 years. Okay, there was no ecological imbalance till this chemical form of agriculture came into the picture. Earlier, there used to be a very beautiful synergy between animal husbandry and agriculture. So there was a perfect balance. And then in a hurry to make more productivity, we introduced the chemical agriculture. No doubt, it fed a lot of hungry stomach, but in the process, because of a lack of proper knowledge and understanding, there is some damage that we have done to the whole environment and the soil. To be very specifically, the organic matter content, organic carbon content, the water holding capacity of the soil, the microflora and microbial population in the soil have reduced so drastically that it is posing a threat for our food sustainability. If we continue like this, definitely in a couple of decades, we will have a food famine in the world. Okay, now I was been thinking now how to reverse this process. The soil salinity, the need for the organic matter content, organic manure application. The whole world talks about organic agriculture, organic agriculture. So to do that, you need an organic manure. Where is the organic manure to feed the whole nation? On the first hand, there is a reduction in the animal population. Second, there is a reduction in the laborers who are doing this particular work, and we don't have enough time and the labor and the money to take this agricultural waste and put it in the manure pit and then wait for that period to make it manure and then take it back to the field and apply and spread it again. So it is all almost practically impossible thing in the days to come. So in this human evolutionary process, a one scientific sentence which is redefined by me now, that what is the time required to make the manure? Now it will be 3 minutes with our innovation that's called booster.
Yeah.
The first time in the world where it is mounted on the vehicle, this vehicle goes to the farmer's field. We can feed this agricultural waste to this boostery, and this converts that into the manure in just 3 minutes. Now, as I told you, Bhumitra is a part of this machine.
Correct.
First, Bhumitra analyzes the soil and checks its content, what is the deficient, and let us say there is a boron deficiency. So we can infuse the required amount of boron while making the manure. So that becomes a tailor-made manure to that particular site of that particular farmer. So this is one. This, no doubt, it solves the problem of the need for an organic manure. One hand, on the other hand, it also reduces the need for the chemical fertilizers. It increase. I strongly believe the health of the people is directly connected to the health of the soil.
Correct.
So if we make the soil more and more healthy, the population will be more and more healthy. The more.
It means by using these techniques, you are able to even reverse the ill effects that have taken place over so many years.
Exactly. That is the point. The second point of what I am trying to say is that here, while we make the soil more healthier, the need for the other inputs also reduces in agricultural system. So the cost of cultivation is reduced. Since the water holding capacity also increases, the marginal farmers who are growing in the dry beds, they also can grow a decent yield.
Right.
In case of a less water availability also. So the magnitude of the impact of the innovation is multi-folded, and not just for this particular generation. It is for the generations to come, for the food security and the sustainability.
Which means to say, if we are looking at a farmer-producer company or a farmer-producer organization, that means if, like you said, that you have a vehicle which is mounted with the Bhusiri as well as the Bhumitra, which means to say where we have marginalized farmers or where they cannot afford it, can one unit help many in that FPO or FPC, something like that? Is that how also you see the cost efficacy?
Oh, yes, definitely, because this one machine can service many farmers because it has a high productivity. Our present variant is capable of producing 2 tons per hour. So we can make it to 5 tons or 10 tons or depending on the need. So the one machine can service X number of acres based on the number of hours that it works. So there is no need that one individual has to own this. A community or a particular farmer producing organization or a panchayat or group of people can own, and then that will help that particular locality.
So how does it function? Like since you are very active about utilizing Bhusiri as well as Bhumitra in Karnataka, in Bangalore and the vicinities, apart from all the other different countries that you cater to. So how does it work best with the panchayat or with one unit being with the corporation, or how does it function in serving many people at the same time? I mean, what is the functional model that you're currently using in different towns also?
Actually, the models vary from its utility. For example, in US now we are working for the highway management. See, a highway, next to the highways, there are a lot of grasses. Their maintenance and managing them was one of the challenges. So now we are designing it to suit to that particular need. On the front, there is a one harvester that goes and harvests, and we convert that into a manure. So in that case, the size, the design, everything varies. The second application is going to be like, saving the forest from the fire. In summer, what happens is a lot of dry leaves, they fall and they become a source for the fire. So the same thing that we can use and convert into manure. In by doing that, we are saving the forest also. On the other hand, we can save the farmers also. And the next is the urban forest produce management. A lot of cities like Bangalore and many places, we have a lot of trees, a lot of leaves, and plant producers, they come. For them, first of all, managing, transporting from one place to another itself with the voluminously, it becomes difficult. Secondly, you need to have a place to convert that into manure. And many places, they burn it. So that causes the problem of pollution, and then space issue, the logistics issue. All this can be addressed at one shot with this particular machine. And of course, is the agricultural assay one next. Of course, the first target was that, but later we found out that there are so many multi-dimensional uses of this particular innovation. So based on the need, the usage model can be designed by the customers and a group of customers. See, we are basically the innovators and the producers of these machines. How they use it, how many of them use it, they can decide.
Coming to the other aspect, I also understand that you have devised or you have come up with a new innovation which is called Vayuputra. So, could you tell us more about it? Obviously, it is something to do with the air, maybe air purification or so, but can you tell us more about how this functions and what is the thought process behind that innovation?
See, actually, as you know, I'm a very passionate innovator. There is no way connected to my core subject. But one day I just thought, when we have been talking about air pollution, what is air pollution and what does it, causing all these problems? There are so many methods that people in the world have tried. Then we came out with a model of a Vayuputra with a centrifugation model. So with a very high energy centrifugation, we are able to precipitate the pollutants in the air. So to make one sentence answer to your question. So that's how it again has a different sizes. It takes the air in and then precipitates the contents, and actually literally you can see these pollutants precipitated in the bottom of the Vayuputra. So that's what it is.
Okay, so which means to say that it can be used in smaller contained areas, or can it be used in larger areas?
It can be. It can come with a different sizes. We can have more number of small sizes or less number of big size. It all depends.
Right. Now, taking this a little further, so basically, you've taken care of the agricultural challenges, but you're using this high tech also in the form of drones. And today, drone usage in agriculture and others is quite rampant. I mean, most people are trying to use drones, etc. So you also have a mechanism by way of which you specify what kind of sprays will be for a particular select type of leaf or something like that. So which means this specific usage of drones in application of maybe what you would say nutrients or things like that will be beneficial. So can you share about your work in the area of usage of drones in agriculture?
I will start answering this question in a little different way. See, what happened is in our education system, we all been told to become a specialist. Okay, so we chose, let's say, agriculture. In agriculture, let's say somebody say I am an agronomist. pathologist, entomologist, a breeder, microbiologist. So like that, we make a compartments to ourselves. But the problem in the field is multi-dimensional. You cannot answer just with this one set of idea. So I always believe that you should have a 360-degree angle for giving a solution to the farmer. So sometimes what happens is a one particular subject, for example, take as an agriculture subject as a whole, then you are not able to give a very disruptive intervention. For example, when it comes to Boosiri, Boosiri is the product of two sciences, that is nanotechnology and artificial intelligence. I'm specialized in genetics. In genetics, there is a one word called hybridization. So hybridization of the sciences has to happen to give you the hybrid result.
Very true.
So we have taken the help of different sciences like artificial intelligence, this drone, when you say, then even not just that, even the space science, what they use the photography of through the satellites, and then a lot of reflectology that we use, and chemistry used, physics is used, nanotechnology has to be used, artificial intelligence has to be used, telecommunication has to be used. So all this has to come together to address the final need of the farmer. Then only we are able to give that kind of a result.
Yes.
So we, depending on the crop, for example, in one of the innovations that we did in reducing the time required for the high value forest species, in that the usage of the drone, when we started using it first, and then of course we did it for many crops later.
So while on one end you are using high technology, using nanotechnology, artificial science, artificial intelligence, etc., I know that you have a lot of regard for the older sciences that we had, as much as you believe in Yat Bhavati Tat Bhavyam. So how is it that you connect this to the knowledge that is there in the ancient texts when it comes to agriculture? I have heard you speak on this topic earlier, and I'd be happy if you can share some of your views on that with our audience here.
I'm more than happy that you brought that particular subject. See, lot of scientists believe that we should not see our ancient knowledge. The first they come with a kind of a mind block, I should say. Just because you have read a one particular book or a set of books, you cannot discount the knowledge created by someone else. Thousands and thousands of years, see, especially Bharat has produced an innumerable number of very, very intellectual people. And as you know, without zero, even today, I and you could not have been communicating like this. And the beginning of the whole telecommunication, computer science, everything, even with a zero, who invented it? I'll give another classic case. When did our rishis said that there is a 9 planet? When did in Hanuman Chalis the distance between sun and the earth is specifically mentioned? How did they know it? And for your kind information, 15,000 years back, Rishi Parashar wrote a book called Krishi Parashar.
Yeah.
That is the first ever book written on agriculture.
So do you use some aspects of that while you're dealing with some of the agricultural problems? Is what exactly I'm trying to get at.
Of course, you have to. You have to have a respect and you have to have a regard for the great works done by our predecessors, our rishis, our people. They have created so much of a big knowledge, and there was a distortion in between. A lot of people tried to not to get connected to that knowledge, And
I agree, but what I'm trying to say is what aspect of maybe soil health or what particular aspect from some of those texts have you been able to use or apply or combine when it comes to your innovations? So is there anything specific in that regard? I mean, with due respect to all the texts that have got a lot of knowledge, have you been able to blend some of that with this while doing your innovations or something like that?
See, I will tell you one Sanskrita shloka. Okay? Amantrasyo aksharaha nasti.
Yes, that's true.
Mulo vanaushadaha. Nishprayojakaha purusha nasti tatra yojakaha durlabha.
Right.
Okay? So for the audience who have no exposure to Sanskrit, let me just explain it in English. Amantrasyo aksharaha nasti. There is no letter which cannot be used for mantra. Nasti mulo vanaushada. There is no plant which cannot be used for medicine. Nishprayojakaha purusha nasti. There is no person who is completely useless. Okay? Tatra yojakaha durlabha. But the person who understands the importance of each bit of this and put it in for a yojane or some vision for some purpose, they are rare.
Right.
In that particular thing, I always been thinking that every science is important, every bit of the plant is important, every aspect of environment is important, and my own one sentence I will tell you. If you aspire for the universe will conspire for you.
Right.
We should not be a liability to the universe, to our environment. We should be a part of it. If possible, let us contribute to this, at least not damage this.
That's true. Very true. Thank you so much, Dr. Hegde, for not just sharing the concepts that of Bhusiri, of Vayuputra and others and all your innovation, but also being able to leave a thought behind to everyone that we are a part of the universe, and if not anything, let us not damage it. So thank you so much for being with us. For those of us who are new to Park with Visionaries, let me tell you that Policy Advocacy Research Center engages in dialogue with people like Nagrajji who have a vision, not just for their particular profession, but beyond, and who mean to make a difference, a positive difference to the world. So we have this dialogue with them. And I'm sure you would be happy to interact and know more about this. Do log on to our website www.parkfornation.org for more information, and do connect with us. I'm sure you'll be happy to interact. Thank you so much, Dr. Hegde, for taking your time out for being with us today, and see you again on another platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaskar.
Thank you.